play is called Our Town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. The sky's beginning to show some streaks of light over in the east there, behind our mountain. Well, I'd better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way back there is the railway station. Polish towns across the tracks. Over there is the Congregational Church. Across the street's the Presbyterian. Methodist and Unitarian are over there. Baptist is down in the hollow by the river. Catholic Church is over beyond the tracks. There's the town hall and post office combined. Jail's in the basement. There's the grocery store, and there's Mrs. Morgan's drugstore. Most everybody in town manages to look into these two stores at least once a day. Public school's over yonder. High school's still further over. 9:15 mornings, noon times, and 3 o'clock afternoons, the whole town can hear the yelling and screaming from those schoolyards. This is our Doc's house, or as the town knows him, Doc Gibbs. This is the front door. And this is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhock, heliotrope, and a lot of burdock. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden, just like Mrs. Gibbs, only it's got a lot of sunflowers too. Nice town, know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable ever come out of it, as far as we know. The earliest tombstones in the cemetery up there on the mountain date 1670 to 1680. There are Grovers and Cartwrights, Gibbses and Herseys. Same names as are around here now. Well, as I said, it's about dawn. So, a new day's begun. And look, there's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now. And there's his wife coming downstairs to fetch breakfast. And here comes Joe Kroll Jr. delivering Mr. Webb's Sentinel.
Morning, Doc Gibbs.
Oh, morning, Joe.
Anybody been sick, Doc?
Just a pair of twins born over in Polish town.
I see. You want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it.
There you go.
Thank you. Anything serious going on in the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher getting married to a fellow over in Concord.
Oh, I declare. How do you boys feel about it?
Well, of course, sir, it's none of my business, but once a person starts out to be a school teacher, she ought to stay one.
Want to tell you something about that boy, Joe Kroll there. Joe was awful bright. Graduated from high school here, head of his class. So, he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there too. It was all wrote up in the Boston paper at the time. He's going to be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out, and he died in France. All that education, for nothing.
Giddy up, Bessie! What's the matter with you today?
And here comes Howie Newsom, delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Joe.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
Just a pair of twins born over to Miss Garolowski's.
Twins, eh? Town's getting bigger every year.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Miss Gibbs.
You're late today.
Yes. Something went wrong with the separator. Don't know which way.
I'll see you later,
Joe.
Bye.
Doc?
Howie?
Everything all right, Frank?
Yes, I declare. Easy as kittens.
Of all the places, Nita put it on the table.
Or
Sit down and drink your coffee. You can catch a couple hours of sleep.
Well, Miss Wentworth's coming at 11. Guess I know what it's about. Her stranded ain't what it ought to be.
Children, time to get up. You'll be late for school. Come down here. George?
George, look sharp.
Yes, Pa. Coming.
Don't you hear your mother calling to you? I suppose I can go and catch 40 winks.
Emily! Wally! You'll be late for school. Wally, you better wash yourself up good or I'll come up and do it myself.
Ma, what dress shall I wear? I washed and ironed the blue gingham for you special. Ma, I hate that dress. Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey. Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice. Ma, the dress throwing soap at me. Oh, I'll come and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do.
We've got a factory in town, too. Hear it? It makes blankets.
Children, now won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal of the day, and I won't have you gobbling it like wolves. It'll stunt your growth, and that's a fact. Wally, put your book away from the table.
Oh, Ma, by 10 o'clock I'll know all about Canada.
You know the rules as well as I do. No books at table. And as for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the smartest girl in school for my age.
Eat your breakfast.
Oh, I'm bright too, especially when I'm talking about my stamp collection.
Well, I'll speak to your father about it when he's arrested. Seems to me 25 cents a week for a boy your age is enough.
Oh, Ma, I got a lot of things to buy.
Well, strawberry phosphates, that's what you spend it on.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradual. Well, dear, I think it's a good thing. If you spend some every now and then. Mom, you know what I love the most in the world? Do you get money? Oh, eat your breakfast.
This is all. We need to go.
Wally, take your book.
Come on, Rebecca.
Walk fast, but you don't have to run. Wally, pull up the pen that
Come on,
needs.
Rebecca.
I'm getting
Hey, darling,
Come on.
Bye, Mama.
Bye, Mom.
Wally, pull up the pen that knee again.
Quick.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye, Mom.
Goodbye.
Morning, Myrtle.
Good morning, Julia.
How's your cold?
Well, I still got that tickling feel in my throat. I told Charles I wouldn't go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use, I told him.
Well, have you tried singing over it?
Yes, but somehow I can't do that and stay on key.
Now, Myrtle, I've got to tell you something. Because if I don't tell somebody, I'll think I'll burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs.
Did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come to see you last Friday?
No.
Well, they came to see me, and first I thought there was some patient wanting to see Dr. Gibbs. But then he wormed himself into my parlor, and Myrtle went, he offered me $350 from my grandmother Wentworth's high boy.
Why, Julia Gibbs.
It did. That old thing, why, it was so big, I didn't know where to put it, and I almost gave it to Cousin Mr. Hillcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Well, I don't know.
You don't know. $350, and, well, I don't know. What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doctor to take the money and go away someplace on a real trip, I'd sell it like that. You know, Myrtle, it's been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. It sounds crazy, I suppose, but if I could get the doctor, you know.
And how does the doctor feel about it?
Well, he said no. You know how he is. It might make him disconnected to Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe.
Well, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying it, Julia, you sell it. And then you'll get to see Paris all right. Just keep dropping hints time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know?
Oh, well, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Only it seems to me that once in your life, before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't talk English and don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now, we're going to skip a few hours. But first, we want a little more background information about the town. A kind of scientific account, you might say. So I've invited Professor Willard of our state university to sketch in a few details of our past history here. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Grover's Corners. Grover's Corners. Let me see. Grover's Corners lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I may say unique fossils. 2 miles out of town in Silas Pecker's cow pasture. Shall I read some of Professor Cooper's notes on the meteorological situation, mean precipitation, etc.?
Afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. You might want a few words on the history of man here?
Yes. Anthropological data. Early Amerindian stock. Tribes. Sorry. No evidence before the 10th century of this era. Now entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families.
And the population, Professor Willie?
Within town limits, 2,640.
Just a moment, Professor.
The population at the moment is 2,642. The postal district brings in 507 more, making a total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rates? Constant. By McPherson's gauge, 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor. We're all very much obliged to you, I'm sure. Round of applause, please, for Professor Willie. Thank you again, Professor.
Not at all.
This way, Professor, this way. Now the political and social report. Editor Webb. Mr. Webb?
Sorry, he'll be here in a minute. He just cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Sorry again. Charles! Everybody's waiting!
Mr. Webb is editor and publisher of the Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's our local paper, you know.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21, women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling of professional men. 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we are 86% Republicans, 6% Democrats, 4% Socialists, rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestant, 12% Catholics, rest indifferent.
And have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most, but our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating high school settle down right here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask Editor Webb anything at all about the town?
Is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners, Mr. Webb?
Well, no, man, there isn't much. Not in the sense you mean. Come to think of it, there are some girls that play the piano in high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am. There isn't much culture. But maybe this is the place to tell you that we've got a lot of pleasures of a kind here. We like the sun coming up over the mountain in the morning, and we all notice a good deal about the birds. Pay a lot of attention to them, and we like the change of seasons. Yeah, everybody knows about them.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Round of applause, please. Now, we'll go back to our town. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 have had their dinners, and all the dishes have been washed. There's an early afternoon calm in our town. A buzzing and a humming from the school buildings. Only a few buggies down on Main Street. The horses dozing at the hitching posts. You know how it is. Doc Gibbs in his office, tapping people and making
we do well. Come on, Rebecca. All right, see you later.
Bye, Molly.
Emily? Walk simply. Who do you think you are today?
Oh, Papa, you're just terrible. One minute you call me names, and the next minute you tell me to stand up straight. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, never gotten a kiss from such a great lady before.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, George.
You made a fine speech in class.
Thank you. I was really ready to talk about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the very last minute, Miss Corcoran made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your headlights while you're doing your homework in your room.
Why can't you?
You certainly do stick to it, Emily. I don't see how someone can sit still that long. I guess you like school?
Well, I figure it's something everyone has to go through.
Yeah,
Really, I don't mind it. It passes the time.
yeah. Emily, what do you say? We might work out a kind of telegraph from your window to mine, and once in a while you could drop me a hint or two about those algebra problems. I don't mean the answers, Emily. Of course not. Just some little hint.
Well, I think hints are allowed. So if you get stuck, George, just whistle to me, and I'll give you some hints.
Okay. Emily, you're just naturally bright, I guess.
Well, I guess it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah. But you see, I want to be a farmer, and my Uncle Luke says whenever I'm ready, I can come and work on his farm. And if I'm any good, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, I better be going. You know, to the baseball field. Thanks for the talk, Emily. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Good afternoon, dear.
Afternoon, Mom.
George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? Why, he's grown up. How old is he?
I don't know.
Let me see. He must be almost 16.
Mama, I made a speech in class today, and I was very good.
Well, you must recite it to your father at supper then. What was it about?
The Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk off a spool. I'm gonna make speeches all my life, Mama. Mama? Mama? Could you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Well, seriously, will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Yes, of course you are. All my children have got good-looking features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I already told you yes. Now that's enough of that. You have a pretty young face, and I've never heard of such foolishness.
Oh, Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, if I say I was the prettiest girl in town. Next to Maiden Cartwright.
Mama, you've got to have something to say about me. Am I pretty enough to get anyone to get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes.
Mama, you're no help at all.
1, 2. Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love. The fellowship of kindred minds is like to dance above.
Well, good deal of time's gone by, friends. It's evening. You can hear choir practice going on in the Congregational Church. Meanwhile, the children are at home, doing their schoolwork, and the day's running down like a tired clock.
Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love, the fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above.
Sorry.
Now look here, everybody. Get it out of your heads that music's only good when it's loud. You leave loudness to the Methodists. You could have beat them if you tried. Now music come into the world to bring pleasure. Ain't that right, Mrs. Soames? Now get it. Tenors. 1, 2.
Blessed be the tie that binds.
Emily,
Hello, George.
hi.
Isn't all this noise terrible?
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Why, yes, George. It's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Can you give me a hint?
I'll tell you this. The answer's in yards.
In yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh, in square yards.
Why, yes, George. Don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Walking. Oh, I see. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. My, isn't the moonlight terrible? When choir practice going on, I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Contague. Hear it?
What do you know?
Well, anyway, I better try and get some work done.
Good night, Emily. And thanks.
Good night, George.
The tie that binds our hearts in Christian love, the fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above.
That's one hell of a falsetto, Frankie. Now, before I forget it, how many of you will be able to come in next Tuesday and sing at Fred Hersey's wedding? We'll do the same ones we did for Jane Trowbridge's last month. Show your hands. That'll be fine. That'll be right nice. Now we'll do Art Thou Weary, Art Thou Languid? It's a question, ladies and gentlemen, so let's make it talk.
Mr. Stimson, actually, I believe the schedule for tonight was All Love Divine, All Love Excelling.
It's also a question. Love divine, all love excelling. This one's after 3. 1, 2, 3.
Love divine, all love excelling, joy of heaven to earth come down.
George, can you come down a minute, please?
Yes, Bob.
This'll only take a minute, George. Make yourself comfortable. Tell me, George, how old are you?
I'm 16, almost 17.
And what do you want to do when you get older?
Why, you know, Pa, I want to be a farmland like Luke's farm.
So you'll be willing, will you, to get up early every morning and milk and feed the stock? And you'll be willing to hoe and hay all day?
Well, sure I am. What do you mean, Pa?
Well, George, while I was in my office today, I heard a funny sound. What do you think it was? It was your mother chopping wood. There, you see, your mother getting up early every morning, cooking and cleaning, and washing and ironing, and still she has to go out back and chop wood. I guess she just got tired of asking you, George. She just gave up and decided it was easier to do it herself. And you eat her meals, and you wear the clothes that she keeps nice for you, and then you run off and play baseball. Like she's some hired girl we keep around the house, but that we don't like very much. All I knew I had to do was bring it to your attention, George. Here, have a handkerchief.
Thanks, Pa.
Good. In other matters, I've decided to raise your spending money, George. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's a present that you give her. But, well, you're getting older, and I expect there are lots of things you must find to do with it.
Yes, Pa.
Let me see, tomorrow's your payday? You can count on it. I suppose Rebecca will feel like she ought to have some more, too. I wonder what could have happened to your mother. Choir practice was never this late before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
I don't know why she's in that old choir, traipsing around the streets at this hour of the night. She hasn't got any more voice than an old crow. Just about time you retired.
Yes, Pa.
Faithful mercies crown.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excuse me. Ladies. Good night, Mr. Simpson. Good evening.
Good night.
Choir practice, wasn't it? Myrtle Webb, look at the moon, will you? Potato weather for sure.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I beg your pardon, ladies. Good night.
Well, naturally, I wouldn't say anything in front of all those others. But really, it's the biggest scandal that's ever happened in this town. What? Simon Simpson. Now, Luella. Oh, Julia. To have the organist of a church, drinking drunk, year after year. You know he was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mr. Stimson, and we all know about the troubles he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on there in his job, the only thing the rest of us can do is just not to notice.
Not to notice it. It is getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir class. Well, better get going.
Yes.
Good night, Luella.
Good night.
Good night, Julia. Good night. Good night.
Well, we had a real good time.
What time do you call this?
Oh, Frank, it ain't any later than usual.
And you stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of hens.
Believe me, Frank, there is something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson from gone, was it?
Worst I've ever seen him. How'd that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
Well, I guess I know more about Simon Stimson's affairs than anybody in this town. Well, none of us know how it led, Julia, but just some people ain't made for small town life. Best thing we can do is just leave it alone. Now come, it's getting late.
No, not yet, Frank. I'm worried about you.
Oh, what are you worried about?
Well, I think it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real
Julia, there's no sense in going over this again.
Why, Frank, you're unreasonable.
It's getting late. You'll catch a cold. Well, I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I guess you'll have your wood chopped for a while at least.
No, Frank. Mrs. Fairchild always locks the front door. All those people up that part of town do.
They're all getting citified. That's the trouble with them. They haven't got anything fit to burgle, and everybody knows it. Now come, let's get to bed.
Get out, Rebecca.
Ow.
There's only room for one at this window.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no moon there. George, you know what I think, do ya? I think maybe the moon's getting near and near, and there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting near, all the guys that look up at night with the telescopes would see it, and they'd tell about it, and it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on Canada, South America, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
9 o'clock. Most of the lights are out. No, there's Constable Warren trying a few doors on Main Street. And here comes Editor Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Oh, evening, Bill.
Good evening, Mr. Webb.
About a moon.
Yep.
Look quiet tonight?
Well, Simon Stevenson's been rolling around a little. Just saw his wife move out to hunt for him, so I looked the other way. Oh, there he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Most of the town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. Yeah, most of the town settled down for the night. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk along ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's gonna end, Mr. Webb.
Well, he's in a pack of trouble. One thing after another. Well, good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, Potter, it's me.
Emily, why aren't you in bed?
I don't know, I just couldn't sleep yet. The moonlight's so wonderful, and the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotrope. Can you smell it?
You haven't any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? No?
Enjoy yourself, but don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
I never told you about that letter Jane Crawford got from her minister when she was sick. Well, he wrote Jane a letter, and on the envelope, the address was like this: Jane Crawford, Crawford Farm, Grover's Corners, Southern County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
What's so funny about that?
But listen, it's not finished. United States of America, the continent of North America, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what he wrote on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
So, what do you think of the town? Pretty ordinary, huh? Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a 15-minute intermission, and then we will begin Act 2. Thank you.
years have gone by. Yes, the sun's come up over 1,000 times. Some babies that weren't even born before began talking regular sentences, and a number of people who thought they were right young and spry have noticed they can't even bound up a flight of stairs like they used to without their hearts flattering a little. All that can happen in just 1,000 days. Although nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways too. A number of young people fell in love and got married. Almost everybody in the world gets married. In our town, there are hardly any exceptions. Most everybody in the world climbs into their graves married. So, it's 3 years later. It's 1904, July 7th, right after high school commencement. That's the time most of our young folks jump up and get married. Soon after they pass their last examinations in solid geometry and Cicero's orations, they suddenly feel themselves fit to be married. It's early morning. Only this time it's been raining. It's been pouring and thundering. There, you can hear 5:45 for Boston. And there come Mrs. Webb and Mrs. Gibbs. They come down to make breakfast, just as though an ordinary day. I don't have to point out to the woman in my audience that these ladies, these two ladies they see before them, have cooked 3 meals a day. One of them for 20 years and the other one for 40. And no summer vacations. They brought up 2 children apiece, washed, cleaned the house, and never a nervous breakdown. It's what they call a vicious circle. It's like what one of those Middle West poets said. You've got to love life to have life. And you've got to have life to love life. Oh, and there comes Howie Newsom delivering the milk. And Cy Crowell delivering the papers like his brother before him.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Si. Anything in the papers I ought to know about?
Nothing much, except that we're losing our best baseball pitcher Grover's Corners ever had, George Gibbs.
Reckon he is.
I don't know how you could give up such a thing just to get married. Would you, Howie?
Can't tell, Si. Never had no talent that way. You're up early, Bill.
Been seeing what I can do to prevent a flood. River's been rising all night.
Well, Si Crowell's here all worked up about George Gibbs is retiring from baseball.
Yes, sir. That's the way it goes. Back in, '84, we had a ball player, Si. Even George Gibbs couldn't think to touch him. Name of, Hank Todd. But he went off to Maine to become a pastor. A wonderful ball player. Say, Howie, how's that weather look to you?
No, it ain't bad. Think maybe it'll clear up again.
Later, Howie.
Bye.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Miss Gibbs.
Do you think it's going to rain again?
Oh, it ain't bad. I think it rain's so heavy it'll clear up again.
Certainly hope it will.
How much you want it?
I'm going to have a house full of relations, Howie. Looks to me I'll need 3 milk and 2 cream.
My wife says to tell you we both hope they'll be very happy, Miss Gibbs. No, they will.
Thanks a lot, Howie.
Of course. Morning, Miss Webb.
Good morning, Mrs. Newsom. I told you 4 quarts of milk, but I was hoping to spare me another.
Of course. Yes, and?
Will it rain again, Mr. Newsom?
Well, I was just saying to Miss Gibbs as to how they clear up. Mrs. Newsom told me to tell you we both hope they'll be very happy, Miss Webb. No, they won't.
Thank you, and thank Mrs. Newsom.
Well, Ma, the day has finally come. You're going to lose one of your chicks.
Frank Gibbs, don't you say another word. I feel like crying every minute.
The groom's upstairs shaving himself, only there ain't a lot to shave. Whistling and singing like he's happy to leave us. Every now and then he says, "I do," to the mirror. But it don't sound convincing to me.
I declare, Frank, I don't know how he'll get along. I've arranged his clothes, and it seemed to that he's put warm things on. Frank, they're too young. Emily won't think of such things. He'll catch his death of cold within a week.
I was remembering my wedding morning, Julia.
Now don't start that, Frank Gibbs.
I was the scaredest young fella in the state of New Hampshire. I thought I made a mistake for sure. But then, I saw you walking down the aisle, and I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. Trouble was, I'd never seen you before. And so that day, in the Congregational Church, I married a total stranger.
And how do you think I felt? Frank, weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are.
How did you sleep last night?
Well, I heard a lot of hours struck off.
It's going to rain on the wedding day, I can't believe it. Sit down. I get a shock every time I think of George setting out to be a family man. That great gangling thing. I tell you, Julia, there ain't nothing so terrifying in the world as a son. The relation of a father and his son is just the darndest, awkwardest.
Oh, mother-daughter's no picnic, let me tell you.
Yes, they'll have their troubles, I suppose. But that's none of our business. People have a right to their own troubles.
Yes. People are meant to go through life two by two. It ain't natural to be lonesome.
I can't. Julia, do you know one of the things I was most afraid of when I married you?
I'll go along with you.
I was afraid we wouldn't have material for conversation more than last us a few weeks. I was afraid we'd go out and eat our dinners in silence. Oh, man. Well, you and I have been conversing for over 20 years without any trace of a barren spell.
Well, good weather, bad weather. It ain't very choice. But I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca stirring around upstairs?
No. Only the other year Rebecca hasn't been managing everybody's business. She's upstairs in her room. I got the impression she's crying.
Lord's sakes, this has got to stop. Rebecca! Rebecca, come down here.
Good morning, everybody. Only 5 more hours to live.
George Gibbs, where do you think you're going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
George, you put on your overshoes. It's raining torrents. You don't go out of this house without you're prepared for it.
Come on, it's just a step.
George, Frank,
George, do as your mother tells you.
from tomorrow on you can kill yourself in all weathers. But while you're in my house, you'll live wisely. Thank you.
Be back in a minute.
Goodness, you frightened me. Now, George, you can come in a minute, but you know I can't ask you in.
Why not?
George, you know as well as I do. The groom can't see his bride on his wedding day. Not until he sees her in church.
That's just a superstition. Good morning, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
Mr. Webb, you don't believe in that superstition, do you?
Well, there's a lot of common sense in all superstitions, George.
Millions have followed it, George. And you don't want to be the first to find the face of custom.
How's that?
She hasn't waked up yet. I haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep?
Well, no wonder. Up to all hours sewing and packing. Now, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go upstairs and see she doesn't come down and surprise you.
Well, George, how are you?
I'm fine, fine. Miss Webb, what sense could there be in a superstition like that?
On a girl's wedding day, her head ought to be full of clothes and other things. Don't you think that's the case, George?
Yes, I never thought of that. A girl's apt to be nervous on her wedding day. I just wish a fellow could get married without all that marching up and down.
Every man that's ever lived has felt that way about it, George. But it ain't no use. It's the women folk that have built it up. For a while now, they've got it all their own. Man looks rather small at a wedding, even his own. It's about all those good women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure the knot's tied in a mighty public way.
But you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh, don't misunderstand me, George. Marriage? It's a wonderful thing. Don't you forget that.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
Age hasn't got much to do with it. Not when compared with, other things.
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
I wasn't going to say anything, George. Oh, I was thinking the other night of some advice my own father told me before I got married. Charles, he said, you better start out early showing your woman who's boss. Best way to do that is to give her commands, even if they don't make much sense at the time. And if anything about your woman annoys you, her speech, or anything at all, just get up and walk on out of there. And this is the most important one of all, George, so you better pay attention. Never let your woman know how much money you've truly got.
Mr. Webb, I don't think I could.
So I took the opposite, my father's advice. And I've been happy ever since, George. Let that be a lesson to you. Never take advice on personal matters.
George, Emma's got to come downstairs and eat her breakfast. She sends you all up, but she doesn't want her eyes on you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, George. Oh, Myrtle. I guess you ain't all too familiar with that old superstition, huh?
What do you mean, Charles?
Ever since the dawn of time, a bridegroom should not see his father-in-law on the day of his wedding. You remember that?
Now, I have to interrupt again here. You see, we want to know how all this began. This plan to spend a lifetime together. You know how it is. You're 21 or 22 and you make some decisions and then whoosh, and you're 17. You've been a lawyer for 50 years and this white-haired lady at your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. But how do such things begin? George and Emily will now show you a conversation they had when they first knew that, well, as the saying goes, that they were meant for one another. But before they do that, I want you to try and remember what it was like to have been very young. And particularly, the days when you were first in love. When you were like a person sleepwalking, just a little bit crazy. Will you do that? Please? Now, George and Emily will be coming out of high school at 3 o'clock. George has just been elected president of junior class, and as it's July, that means he'll be the president of senior class all next year. And Emily has just been elected secretary and treasurer. I don't have to tell you how important that is.
I can't, Louise. I've got to go home. Oh, Ernest, can you come over tonight and do Latin? Cousin and sister are the worst thing. Tell your mother you have to. Bye.
Can I carry your books home for you, Emily?
Why? Thank you. It wasn't for.
I'm awfully glad you're elected too, Emily.
Thank you.
Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you asked me, I might as well say it right out, George. I don't like the whole change that's come over you in the last year. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I've got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Up to a year ago, I liked you a lot. I watched you as you did everything. Because we've been friends so long, and then you started spending all your time at baseball. You didn't stop to speak to anybody anymore, not even your own family you didn't. And George, here's a fact. You've become awful conceited and stuck up. And all the girls say so. They may not say it to your face, but that is what they say behind your back. It hurts me to hear them say it, but I have to agree with them a little. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I can't be sorry I said it.
I'm glad you said that, Emily. I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fellow not to have faults creep into his character.
I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be.
Oh, I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Huh. My father is. As far as I can see your father is, there's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
Well, I feel it's the other way around. That men aren't naturally good, but girls are.
Well, you might as well know right now, I'm not perfect. It's not as easy for a girl to be as perfect as a man. Us girls are more nervous. And I'm sorry I said all that about you. I don't know why I said it.
Emily?
I suddenly feel it's not important anyway.
Emily,
It was...
would you like to get an ice cream soda or something before you go home?
Yes. Thank you. I think I would.
Good afternoon, George. Good afternoon, Emily. What'll you two have? Why, Emily Webb? What have you been crying about?
She just had an awful scare, Mrs. Morgan. She almost got run over by that hardware store wagon. Everybody knows that Tom Huggins drives like a crazy man.
Well, now, you look all shook up. I tell you, you've got to look both ways before crossing Main Street these days. It gets worse every year. Now, what'll you two have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate, Miss Morgan.
No, Emily, have an ice cream soda with me. 2 strawberry ice cream sodas, please.
2 strawberry ice cream sodas. Yes, sir. There they are. Enjoy them.
They're so expensive.
No, don't you think of that. We're celebrating. And do you know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
I'm celebrating because I've got a friend that tells me all the things that ought to be told to me.
George, please don't think of that. I don't know why I said it. It's
No,
not...
Emily, you stick to it. I'm glad you spoke to me like you did, but you'll see. I'm gonna change so quick. You bet I'm gonna change. And Emily, I want to ask you a favor.
What?
Emily, if I go to State Agriculture College next year, would you write to me every once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George. It certainly seems like being away for 3 years you'd get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't be so interesting after a while. It's not a very important place when you think of all of New Hampshire, but I think it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come when I wouldn't want to know everything that's happening around here. I know that's true, Emily.
I'll try to make my letters interesting.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agriculture college to be a good farmer.
Why, George?
Yeah, some of them even say it's a waste of time. You can get all those things anyways out of the pamphlets the government sends out. And, well, my Uncle Luke, he's getting old. He's about ready for me to take over his farm tomorrow if I could.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and it's like you say, Emily, being gone all the time and other places and meeting other people, gosh, if anything like that could happen, I don't want to go away. I guess new people are better than the old ones. I bet they almost never are. Emily, I feel that you're as good of a friend as I got, and I don't need to go to other places and meet other people.
But George, maybe it's very important for you to go away and learn about cattle judging and soil and those things. Of course, I don't know.
I'm gonna make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
But George, it's a whole year away. I don't see why you have to make up your mind right now.
Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me about that fault in my character thing. What you said was right, but there was one thing wrong with it. And that was when you said that for a year now, I wasn't noticing people and, well, and you, for instance. Why, you say you were watching me and everything I was doing? I was doing the same about you all the time. Why, I thought of you as one of the chief people I thought about. I always made sure to know where you were sitting on the bleachers and who you were with. And for 3 days now, I've been trying to walk home with you, but something's always gone in the way. Yesterday, I was standing against the wall over there, and, well, then you walked home with Miss Corcoran.
George, life's awful funny. How was I supposed to know that?
Listen, Emily, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to agriculture college. I think that once you find a person that you're very fond of, well, I mean, that's very fond of you too, and likes you enough to be interested in your character, well, I feel that's just as important as school is, even more so. That's what I think.
I think it's awfully important too, George.
Emily?
Yes?
Emily, if I do improve and make a big change, would you be, well, I mean, could you be?
I am now. I always have been.
So I guess this is an important talk we've been having.
Yes, I think so too.
Wait just a minute, I'm gonna walk home with you. Mrs. Morgan, I'm gonna have to go home and get you money to pay you back for this. It'll only take me a minute.
George Gibbs, do you mean to tell me that...
Yes, but I have reasons. Look, here's my gold watch to keep until I get back.
That's all right. Keep your watch. I'll trust you.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you 10 years, George, not a day over. Got all over your shock, Emily?
Yes, Miss Morgan, it was nothing.
I'm ready.
Well, now we're ready to get on with the wedding. You see, there are lots of things to be said about a wedding, and there are many thoughts that go on during a wedding. We can't get them all into one wedding, naturally, and especially not into a wedding at Grover's Corners.
I don't know why they should be crying. I suppose there's nothing to cry about. It came over me at breakfast this morning. There was Emily, eating her breakfast, as she's done for 17 years. And now, she's going off to eat it in someone else's house. I've got to say it. There's something downright cruel about sending out girls into marriage this way. I hope some of her girlfriends told her a thing or two. It's cruel. I know, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I went into it as blind as a bat myself.
Everyone, please rise.
Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love. The fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above.
George, what's the matter?
Ma, I don't want to grow old. Why is everybody pushing me so?
Why, George, you wanted this.
No, Ma, listen to me.
No, George, you're a man now.
Listen, Ma, for the last time I ask you, all I want to do is be a fellow.
George, if anyone should hear you. Now stop. Why was
ashamed of you.
Where's Emily?
George, you gave me such a turn.
Oh, cheer up, Mom. I'm getting married.
I've never felt so alone in my whole life. George over there looking so... I hate him. I wish I were dead. Papa.
Emily, don't get upset.
Papa, I don't want to get married.
Emily, everything's all right.
Why can't I stay for a while? Just as I am. Let's go away.
Emily, no. You're just nervous.
But Papa, don't you remember? All the time you used to say. All the time that I was your little girl. There must be somewhere we can go.
Emily, stop, please. You're not thinking straight. Look, I'll show you. George! George, come here, please. Why, you're marrying George. The finest young man our town has to offer.
Papa.
George, I'm giving my daughter away to him. Do you truly think I can trust you to take care of her?
I want to, Mr. Webb. I want to try. Emily, I'm going to do my best to take care of you. I love you, Emily. Emily, I need you.
Well, if you love me, help me. Well, I wanted someone to love me.
I will, Emily. Emily, I'll try.
And forever, you hear me? Forever and ever.
Come now. It looks like they're waiting for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to witness and celebrate the union between George Gibbs and Emily Webb in marriage. George Gibbs, do you take this woman, Emily, to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better and worse, until death do you part?
I do.
Emily, do you take this man, George, to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, until death do you part?
I do.
Years have gone by. It's summer of 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer. Farmers are coming into town in Fords. Everybody locks their house doors now at night. There haven't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's certainly heard about them. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, things don't change much around here. Well, this is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. And there, way down there, that's Grover's Corners. spot up here. There's mountain laurel and lilac. Over there, those are the old stones. I can see 1670 and 1680. Those were strong-minded people that came a long way to be independent. This here is the new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs. Hello. And Mrs. Soames. Hi. And Mr. Stimson. Oh, and a lot of others. There are some things that we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal, right? Everyone knows in their bones that something is eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. There's something eternal about every single human being. Well, there are still some living beings. There is Joe Stoddard, our undertaker, and he's supervising a new-made grave. And here comes a Grover's Corners boy. He'd left town to go out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Oh, good afternoon. Let me see now. Do I know you?
I'm Sam Craig.
Oh, Sam Craig. I should have known you'd be coming down for the funeral. You've been away a long time.
Yes, I'm in business out in Buffalo now, Joe.
Oh. Very sad our journey today, Samuel. Yes. I always say I hate to supervise when a young person is taken.
Why? Oh, this is my Aunt Julia. Forgotten that she,
Yeah, Doc Gibbs lost his wife 2-3 years ago about this time. Today's another pretty bad blow for him, too.
That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam.
I'm always uncomfortable when they're around.
Simon.
Joe? What did she die of?
Who?
My cousin.
Oh, didn't you know she died bringing a baby into this world? It was the second, though. There's a boy around 4 years old.
Is the grave going to be over there?
Yeah.
Blessed be the time.
I better be off.
Our hearts in Christian love, the fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above.
Who is it, Julia? My daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
My. The road up here must have been awful muddy. What did she die of, Julia?
In childbirth.
Childbirth. I forgot all about that. Wasn't life awful? Wonderful.
Wonderful, was it?
Simon, now remember.
Hello.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Mother Gibbs.
Emily.
It's raining.
Yes. They'll be gone soon, dear. Just dress yourself.
Seems thousands and thousands of years since Papa, remember that was my favorite hymn. I wish I'd been here a long time. I don't like being new here. How do you do, Mr. Simpson?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs, George and I have made that farm into just the best place you ever saw. We thought of you all the time. We wanted to show you the new barn and the long cement drinking fountain for the stock. We got that out of the money you left us.
I did?
Don't you remember, Mother Gibbs? The legacy you left us, it was over $350.
Yes. Yes, Emily.
be the same to George without me, but it's a lovely farm. Mother Gibbs, life people don't understand, do they?
No, dear. Not very much.
They're sort of shut up in little boxes. I feel as though I knew them last 1,000 years ago. Mother Gibbs, we have a Ford, too. Never gives any trouble. And I don't drive, though. Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? Of being one of them, how long does it...
Just wait and be patient.
Mother Gibbs are finished. Papa? You're going.
I know, dear. I know.
Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. It's just like George. Doesn't he? Mother Gibbs, I never realized how in the dark and how troubled they are. Look at him. I loved him so much. It's only hours of morning till night they're troubled.
Weather's cooled down.
Yes, it's heading north.
The rain is a 3-day blow.
Mother Gibbs, one can go back. One can go back there into living. I feel it. I know it, but just for a minute I was thinking about the farm. And for a moment I was there.
Yes. Of course you can.
It's true, isn't it? I can go back there and live all those days over again.
Yes. Some have tried, but Emily, they soon come back here.
Emily, don't do it.
Emily, really, you shouldn't. But I won't live over a sad day. I'll choose a happy one. Choose the day I first knew I loved George.
should that be painful? Because you not only live it, but you watch yourself living it. And as you watch it, you see the thing that they down there will never know.
Yes?
You see the future. You know what's going to happen afterwards.
And that's not the only reason why you shouldn't do it, Emily. When you've been here longer, you'll see that our life here is to forget all that and think only what's ahead and be ready for what's ahead. When you've been here longer, you'll understand that.
Oh, Emily, it isn't wise.
But it's the thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No! Choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day in your life. It'll be important enough.
And it can't be since I was married. Or since the baby was born. I can choose a birthday, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
Okay. February 11th, 1899. A Tuesday. Do you want any particular time of day?
I want the whole day.
We'll begin at dawn.
There's Main Street. There's Miss Morgan's drugstore before she changed it. And there's the livery stable.
It's 1899. This is 14 years ago, Emily.
It's the town I knew as a little girl. And there's the white picket fence that used to be around our house. Are they inside?
Yes. Your mother will be downstairs in a minute to make you breakfast. And you remember that your father had been away for several days, and he came back on the early morning train.
No.
He'd been back at his college to make a speech in Western New York, at Clinton.
There's Howie Newsom. And there's our policeman. But he's dead. He died.
Morning, Bill. You're up early.
I was just being rescuing a party. Damn near froze to death down by Polish Town.
Morning, Joe.
Morning, Howie. Good morning, Mr. Ward.
Children?
Wally, Emily, it's time to get up.
Mom, I'm here. Oh, how young Mama looks. I don't remember Mama was ever that young.
You can come and dress down by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry.
Good morning, Mr. Newsom.
Morning.
Oh, it's cold.
Yeah. Can't blow up by my barn.
Big. Keep yourself wrapped up.
Of course.
Mama, I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. I laid it out for you on the dresser special. If it were a snake, it would bite you.
Ah, good morning, Bill.
You're up early, Mr. Webb.
Yeah, I just been back to my old college in New York State. Been any trouble here?
Well, just had to rescue a party down by Polish Town. Ah, damn near froze to death he was.
Oh, we must get it in the paper. Good day, Bill.
Good day.
Good morning, Mother.
Good morning. So how'd it go, Charles?
Oh, fine, I guess. Told them a few things. everything all right here?
Yes, can't think of anything that's happened special, but it's been right cold.
Yes, well, it's colder than that at Hamilton College, and students' ears are falling off there. Paper have any mistakes in it?
None that I've noticed. Ah, Charles, don't forget. It's Emily's birthday. Did you get her something nice?
Yes, I've got something here.
It's beautiful.
You think she'll like it?
Oh, I'm sure she's going to love it.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Don't interrupt her now, Charles. She's slow enough as it is. You can see her at breakfast. Children, it's 7 o'clock. I don't want to call you again. I can't bear it. They're so young and beautiful. Why did they ever have to get old? Mom, I'm here. I'm grown up. I love you all, everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama. Good morning, my girl. A very happy birthday to you, my dear, and many happy returns. There are some surprises for you in the kitchen table. Mommy, you shouldn't have. But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up and be a good, strong girl. Well, in that blue paper is from your Aunt Carrie, and I reckon you can guess who brought in that postcard album. Found it on the doorstep when I brought in the milk. And George Gibbs must have come over pretty early in the cold. Right nice of him. George. I'd forgotten that. Eat your breakfast good and slow. It'll help you stay warm on such a cold day. Mama, look at me! For 1 minute, as though you really saw me. 14 years have gone by. I'm dead! You were a grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs. Holly's dead too. His appendix burst on a camping trip to North Conway. Don't you remember? But for a moment now, we're all together. For a moment now, we're happy. Let's look at one another. In that yellow paper is something I found in the attic among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to wear it now, so I thought you'd like it. And this is from you. It's just beautiful. It's just what I wanted. Oh. Well, I'm glad you like it. Hunted all over for it. Your Aunt Nora couldn't find the one in Boston, so I had to send it all the way to Concord. Oh, Wally has something for you too. Made it a manual training class and he's right proud of it. Make sure you make a big fuss about it. Well, your father has something for you too. Don't know what it is myself, but...
I wonder what it might be.
I can't. I can't bear it. We don't have time to look at one another. All that was going on and we never noticed. Take me back. Up the hill to my grave. There's one more look. Bye. Bye, world. Bye, Grover's Corners. Come on, Papa. Try the clock's ticking. Mama sunflowers. Kind of food and coffee and fresh iron dresses. And hot baths. And sleeping and waking up. Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Too many living beings realize life while they live it. And I mean every minute. No. The saints and poets, maybe. They do some. Take me back. Take me back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all they are, just blind people.
Look, it's clearing up. The stars are coming out.
Mr. Simpson, I should have listened to them.
Yes. Now you know. Now you know. That's what it was to be alive. To move about in a cloud of ignorance, going up and down, trampling all over the feelings of those about you. To spend and to waste time as though you had 1,000,000 years. To be always at the mercy of one self-centered passion or another. That's the blissful existence you wanted to return to. Ignorance and blindness.
Simon Stimson, that ain't the whole truth, and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name.
Mother gives us George. It's George.
That ain't no way to behave.
You ought to go home. Mother Gibbs.
Yes, Emily?
Life people don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They don't understand.
Most everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. Well, there are a few lights on. Shorty Hawkins, down at the depot. He's just watched the Albany train go by. And at the livery stable, someone seems to be setting up late and talking. But it's definitely clearing up. And there go the stars, doing their old crisscross journeys in the sky. Scholars have not settled the matter yet, but they seem to think that there are no living beings up there. That it's just chalk or fire. Only this one is straining away. It's straining away all the time it has to make something of itself. And the strain is so bad that every 16 hours everybody lies down to have a rest. 11 o'clock in Grover's Corners. You get a good rest too. Good night.